Hello everyone, my name is Angelica Jarquin and this is my extra credit project for FIN3403. So we're going to begin with the first problem. It states, you are put in charge of managing your firm's working capital. Your firm has $100,000 in extra cash on hand and decides to put it in a savings account paying 7% interest compounded annually. How much will you have in your account in 10 years? So in this problem, we are trying to find the future value of a cash flow. In this problem, the $100,000 is the present value. There are 10 periods and the interest rate is 7%. So we're just going to plug the numbers into our calculator. So 10 would be our N. Our interest rate is 7. So we're going to put 7 IY. Our present value is $100,000. We're going to make it a negative just to keep our cash flow straight and to not receive an error on the calculator. So that'll be our present value. And we have a payment of 0. So I'm going to select compute future value because that's what we're trying to solve. And we get our final answer, which is 196,715 and some cents. We round it off a little bit. So that is our answer for the first problem. Going to the next one, it states, you have been put in charge of managing your firm's cash position and notice that the Plaza National Bank of Portland, Oregon has recently decided to begin payment interest compounded semi-annually instead of annually. If you deposit $1,000 with Plaza National Bank at an interest rate of 12%, what will your account be in 5 years? So in this problem, we are still calculating future value, but instead of an annual payment, we are going to be in, it's actually a semi-annual payment, so it'll be twice a year. So given our original information, it's going to change a bit. For example, at the interest of 12%, we're going to divide it by 2 because since it is compounded twice a year, we're going to divide it by 2, so we'll get 6% as our interest rate. And what will your account be in 5 years? That was our initial N, but because since it is semi-annual, we're just going to multiply it by 2, so it'll be 10. So given that new information, we're going to plug that into our calculator. So we are going to select 10 as our N, 6 as our IY because we divided it by 2. Our 1,000 is going to be our present value. We're going to make it a negative. Once again, a payment of 0. Now we're just going to press compute and future value. And we're going to get our final answer, which is 1,790.847697 rounded off. That would be 1,790 and 85 cents. And that would be your account balance in 5 years if you deposit $1,000 with Plaza National Bank. Going to our next problem. It states, your firm has just sold a piece of property for $500,000, but under the sales agreement, it won't receive the $500,000 until 10 years from today. What is the present value of $500,000 to be received 10 years from today if the discount rate is 6% annually? So instead of solving for future value, we're actually going to be solving for present value in this problem. So we're just going to plug in our information. So 10 would be our N in this problem. 6 would be our interest rate. Once again, a payment of 0. And our future value would be 500,000 because it states it won't receive the 500,000 until 10 years from today. That's our future value. Now I'm going to press compute and select present value. And we're going to get our final answer, which is 279,197. So that is our present value of $500,000 that will be received 10 years from today, given the interest rate. In this problem, it states, let's assume that the Toyota Corporation has guaranteed that the price of a new Prius will always be $20,000, and you like to buy one but currently have only $7,752. How many years will it take for your initial investment of $7,752 to grow to $20,000 if it is invested so that it earns 9% compounded annually? Now for this problem, we are actually solving for the number of periods because it's not stated in the problem. So we're going to plug in the information that's given to us. So we're going to start with our interest rate since we don't have our N yet. That'll be 9 will be plugged into our interest rate. Our present value is $7,752. That is the money you currently have. I'm going to make it a negative just to not receive an error on our calculator. That's our present value. Once again, 0 as our payment, and our future value will be the $20,000 that we want to buy the Prius. Then we're gonna hit compute, and our final answer is 10.99798951. So we're gonna round that up a bit. So it'll take approximately 11 years for your initial investment of $7,752 to grow to $20,000 if it is invested at 9% compounded annually. Moving on to our next problem. 5.6. So once again, we are using that Prius example. It says, let's go back to the Prius example in checkpoint 5.5. Recall that the Prius always costs $20,000. In 10 years, you'd really like to have $20,000 to buy a new Prius, but you only have $11,167 now. At what rate must your $11,167 be compounded annually for it to grow $20,000 in 10 years? So in this problem, we're actually solving for the interest rate, and we are going to begin by putting our N, since it is given to us now, which would be 10. And then we're going to select our present value. So I'm going to put the 11,167. Once again, putting it as a negative sign to keep the cash flow straight. That is our present value. We have a payment of 0. So I'm just going to put PMT 0. And finally, I'm going to select $20,000 as our future value because that is the cost of the car. So I'm going to put compute, select IY. We get our final answer, rounded off. It is approximately 6%. So that's the rate that your $11,167 needs to be compounding annually for it to grow $20,000 in 10 years to eventually get the car. And now we are here to our final problem. It states, assume that you have just received your first credit card statement and the APR, or annual percentage rate, listed on the statement is 21.7. When you look closer, you notice that the interest is compounded daily. What is the EAR, or effective annual rate, on your credit card? So here in this problem, we are actually looking for the effective annual rate, and this can actually be solved with our calculator as well. So I'm just going to select second, select the number 2, and my screen says NOM, NOM, and I'm going to select the interest rate, which is 21.7, so I'm just going to put it one more time. And then I'm going to press enter. I'm going to select the arrow twice, and I'm going to type 365 because that the interest is actually compounded daily. Press enter. I'm going to press the arrow sign one more time, compute, and that is actually our final answer, is 24.226. So that is actually the effective interest annual rate on my credit card.